Doom Eternal is a demanding game, and I don't mean in terms of your system requirements. Nah, man, demanding in terms of your skill. Doom Eternal is one of the most difficult first-person shooters I've played in some time. A game that requires the player to perform at the highest level, better and faster than ever before. And it is so goddamn fun because of it. Is Doom Eternal the best Doom game ever made? Well, let's slap some shells in that super shotgun and find out. If you've never played a Doom game before, or have never heard of any of the Doom games, all three of you, basically they work like this. Brutally murder a variety of demons from hell with an arsenal of weapons including, but not limited to, a shotgun, chain gun, rocket launcher, and chainsaw. Oh, and the BFG. That stands for Big Gun, in case you were wondering. Since the original game, this has been a series all about fast and furious skill-based action. While the franchise briefly took a more horror-driven direction in Doom 3 back in 2004, the series was rebooted in 2016 and simply titled. Released at a time when cover-based stop-and-pop shooter mechanics were the norm, Doom 2016 was a big middle finger to just about every first-person shooter on the market. It brought the series back to its fast-paced, brutal roots while also introducing the glory kill system. Glory kills allow the Slayer to totally eviscerate his demonic prey once they are weakened to a certain point, indicated by them flashing. Glory kills reward the player with health pickups, which incentivizes a purely offensive playstyle. This is also complemented by the classic chainsaw, which rewards ammo. If you are at critical health, don't run, don't hide, simply meet the demon head-on, achieve a glory kill, and get yourself back in the action. It was brilliant gameplay in 2016, it's still brilliant now. Doom Eternal ups the ante in a few key areas. Glory kills and chainsaw kills still function the same way, however now the chainsaw is now mapped to a single button press and automatically is equipped when ammo is depleted, which is a welcome tweak. The chainsaw also replenishes over time, which is good as it often becomes your sole method of getting more ammo. However, you still need to collect additional gas cans if you plan on carving up a bigger foe. A new addition to the Slayer's arsenal is his new shoulder-mounted doohickey, which launches grenades and doubles as a flamethrower. In fact, using the flamethrower causes your enemies to spew out armor shards as they burn. So, glory kills give you health, the chainsaw gives you ammo, and the flamethrower gives you armor. Despite there being traditional pickups, if the player is smart about alternating between these three weapons, it's possible to be a totally self-sufficient badass, assuming the player is able to keep track of which thing they are deficient in and fast enough to act on it, which makes every battle an intense, exhaustive, and satisfying experience. Compared to Doom 2016, Eternal is way faster. Fast reflexes are an absolute requirement to be successful. Where in Doom 2016, a lot of projectiles could be easily dodged by sidestepping, in Eternal, if an enemy shoots something at you, you're likely gonna get hit. Luckily, this is balanced out by the new dash mechanic, which allows the Slayer to quickly move out of the way. If you're a Souls player, this will feel very familiar to you, as the mechanic is almost identical. The dash mechanic will be your best friend in many of the game's battles. It also comes in handy in the platforming segments. Yeah, there are platforming segments, we'll get to those later. The Slayer's classic arsenal returns with the sole omission being the pistol, which honestly is okay, because it's often ignored anyways, and the pistol in Doom 2016 wasn't that great. The returning weapons, the shotgun, chain gun, plasma rifle, rocket launcher, and yes, BFG, all return and feel better than ever. While the super shotgun, which is still, and always will be, the best weapon in Doom, now has this nifty grappling hook. The new weapons of Doom 2016 also make a return, but this time under different names. The assault rifle is now the heavy cannon, and the Gauss rifle is now the ballista. While their names are different, the weapons function essentially the same, which is good because they're both excellent and fun to use. The big new addition is the Demon Blade, known as the Crucible, which was featured heavily in Doom Eternal's marketing. You get this bad boy towards the end of the game, and it essentially functions as a one-hit kill machine, not unlike the Berserk power-up. It looks really cool, but it's not really that interesting. What is interesting is the new Blood Punch ability. Yes, Blood Punch. a charged up melee attack that sends out a shockwave that can liquefy enemies. I should mention the Slayer now has a wrist blade, but this is really a cosmetic upgrade since he only uses it in glory kills, and those function identical to the last game. In terms of demons, all the usual suspects are back. You got your imps, you got your pinkies, you got your revenants, as well as your tomatoes. Some of the new additions are the gargoyles, essentially flying versions of the imps, which I suspect were inspired by a similar enemy from Doom 3, the carcass, which can create shields to block you, perfect for exploding with your plasma rifle, and whiplashes, snake-like demons that are hard to hit and test my patience, as well as tentacles, which are stupid and easily the worst part of the whole game. Making their triumphant return are arachnotrons, who are far more agile, pain elementals, who are not as annoying as their original incarnation, and last but not least, the archvile, who is still just the worst. Hard to kill, still super lethal, can revive enemies, just as it should be. All the demons you know and love make a return, and the new ones are respectable additions. Most of them. But what's awesome is that there are new strategies in murdering them, done by, how do I say this? Dismantling them. Mancubus, for example, can have their cannons shot off with a well-placed sniper or ballista shot. Revenants can have their shoulder cannons blasted off in a similar way. Arachnotrons can have their cannon blasted off, and cacodemons will swallow a well-placed grenade. I love this new addition as it puts pressure on the player in focusing on precision, all the while staying on the move and thinking quickly. And focusing on this strategy is key to survival in your first playthrough because, once again, this game is very hard. Ammo is far more limited than in other Doom games, which is a good thing because it forces you to be constantly switching between all your weapons while also keeping zombies and other cannon fodder in view in case you have to hit them with a quick chainsaw to replenish ammo. It's utter madness. Doom 2016 never came close to the intensity of some of these fights. I mean, look at this! Looks exhausting, doesn't it? Well, it is, but in a good way. Luckily, there are lives now that you can collect, which will revive you immediately in battle if you die. It may seem antiquated, but trust me, finding these little green friends is going to make you very happy, because your first playthrough of Doom Eternal, you're gonna die a lot.
I expected more from the great Slayer.
But in all seriousness, the difficulty, while overwhelming at times, is overall fair and oh so satisfying to triumph over. I suppose if I had one critique here, I could say that sometimes these fights go on way too long. I actually sort of hate giving this critique because for me, every second of Doom combat is pure bliss, and I get it, the developers wanted to push Doom fans to their absolute limits by making every fight absolutely insane, but if I had to be honest, there are just some fights that will wear you out. I mean, come on, Ed, do we really need to throw a Doom Hunter at me right after I just got done killing a horde of Mancubi and a Cyber Demon? The answer to that is apparently yes. In terms of story, Eternal picks up not long after 2016, with the Slayer returning to Earth on his floating, fortress, only to find Earth being invaded by the demons, to which he naturally responds with his one and only love language, pain. Now, the story in these newer Doom games is very much optional. There's a general plot to keep things moving, which is very entertaining, and unlike the last game, there are cutscenes now which are actually very well done and don't overstay their welcome. But for the full picture, it's up to the player to delve into the game's many codex entries if they want to know more, which I highly recommend. The lore of Doom is absolutely insane and very, very well fleshed out. Honestly, by the time you reach the end of the game, you will say to yourself, oh, that's why the demons have cybernetic implants. That totally makes sense. In fact, longtime Doom fans are gonna find some pretty mind-blowing revelations in this game's narrative. The levels of Eternal reinforce this world building as they are exceptionally well crafted and designed, absolutely boiling over with tiny details and secrets and slathered with all sorts of pretty new effects made possible by the new EdTech 7. But what really brings it all together is the absolutely brilliant soundtrack by Mick Gordon, who has managed to top his already legendary score from Doom 2016. Doom's missions provide a mixture of shooting arenas, light puzzle solving, and a new emphasis on platforming. Platforming, yes, one of the big new additions to the Doom formula. Doom 2016 had a fair bit of platforming, but it was fairly basic. Doom Eternal expands on this by adding climbable walls you can scale and jump off, yellow monkey bars you can fling yourself off of, along with the dash mechanic we previously talked about. The platforming is okay. Of all the new things in Doom Eternal, it's probably my least favorite. At its best, the platforming can be quite fun with its twitchiness and light puzzle solving. At its worst, it's a bit finicky and unresponsive, especially in terms of grabbing onto ledges. If I had to be brutal, if Doom Eternal shipped with everything but the platforming segments, I think it would still be just as phenomenal. I don't think it adds that much to the game besides being an elaborate way to break up the shooting sequences. That being said, I do see what id is trying to do with it, and I would be curious to see how it could evolve if they decided to use platforming again in another Doom game, or maybe any of their other franchises. It's not bad, it's just okay, and in a game with this much excellence, okay sticks out like a sore thumb. My last remarks on the levels focus on the last 3 episodes leading up to Eternal's final mission. All I can say is these are some of the most insane and disturbing missions ever put in a Doom game, or in a first-person shooter in general. They are visual spectacles and are an absolute blast. They make the whole game. Honestly, they do. These are the levels Doom fans will be talking about for years to come. The only bummer with the penultimate levels being so visually mind-melting is that when you hit the final level in the game, you can't help but go, meh. It's just a very basic looking level that they could have pushed further. Design-wise, it's great. Visually, meh. And the final boss, I have to admit, is kind of a pushover. I was a bit disappointed. But hey, maybe you'll feel differently about it. Finally, last but certainly not least, is Doom Eternal's new multiplayer mode, fittingly titled Battle Mode. Where Doom 2016's Deathmatch was met with fairly lukewarm responses from players, id had decided to totally reinvent their multiplayer with a 2v1 brawler mode with 2 players controlling a demon of their choosing and the remaining player controlling the Slayer. The objective? The Slayer has to kill the demons, and the demons have to kill the Slayer. While the Slayer has his full arsenal at his fingertips, each demon has their own specific abilities, along with the power to summon other demons to attack the Slayer and weaken him. It's a fresh idea on a traditional deathmatch and embraces the spirit of the game. However, I do think this mode has a ways to go before it can hit its full potential. Rounds are best out of 3, with the Slayer earning a point when both demons are killed and the demons scoring when they kill the Slayer. What's funky though is that the demons are able to respawn after about 20 seconds, where the Slayer is limited to only 1 life, and he needs both demons dead simultaneously to score a point. So if one demon dies, all the other one has to do is keep their distance from the Slayer until his teammate is revived, which can make for some long and tiresome matches where, as the Slayer, you might kill the demons multiple times only for them to respawn over and over until one of them gets the best of you, losing you that match. Kinda seems like the deck is a little too stacked against the Slayer, at least for the moment. Battle mode is a good start, and I'm excited to see how it improves it and what they add to it. But for right now, it's hard for me to imagine this mode totally scratching the multiplayer itch for a lot of longtime Doom fans. So, is this the best Doom game ever made? Man, it's a tough one to answer and totally up to individual taste, but it is certainly up there. The big debate will be if it's superior to its 2016 predecessor, and while I don't think Eternal touches that game in terms of just sheer surprise and joy in seeing the series formula reinvented so amazingly, I will say Eternal trumps it in terms of challenge and absolute sheer doominess, if that term is even acceptable. Personally, it's my favorite in the series. Absolutely. Look, there were times while I was playing this where I genuinely thought to myself, this is the craziest video game I have ever played. This is Doom on steroids, which are also on steroids. If there's anything that holds it back, it's some of the newer concepts that didn't come together as tightly as everything else. Things like the platforming. So, should you play this? Well, if you're a first-person shooter fan, God yes. If you're a Doom fan, you're already playing this, as you should be. And if you've never played a Doom game before, then do yourself a favor. Start with 2016 and work your way up to Eternal. Trust me, me. You'll have a blast. But what do you think of Doom Eternal? Love it? Hate it? Still traumatized by Necroval? Be sure to let me know. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to click on that subscribe button and shoot me a like. I post videos weekly, so look forward to that for the rest of this wonderful quarantine. I'm Kirk. Thank you for watching this review of Doom Eternal. Rip and tear.